We are at True North Motos outside of Olympia, Washington with Dan North, president of True North Motos. And this is an installation video for HDB handguards. This is kind of a user guide video segment for this. So before you proceed to watching the install video, Dan just wants to tell you a few things here.
So some things you may or may not have in the shop is a tap holder for a tap of this size that comes in the kit. This is a 5/8 by 11 tap, so it's a pretty big tap to tap the end of the handlebars, so make sure you have the appropriate tap handle for this. Anti-seize for the end of the big bolts on the bike. You're going to want to put those on because you got steel bolts going into aluminum and they will corrode and kind of lock up. Some medium strength 243 blue Loctite. You're going to need some Torx, various metric wrenches, sockets, and then some Allens, 3, 4, 5, and 6 millimeter Allens. So just make sure you have that stuff on hand before you start to do this install. That way you don't have to run into town and grab stuff while you're in the middle of doing it on the bike.
This video is going to be posted on YouTube. It will have a chapter guide to it, so you can skip forward, go backwards, redo, and then also, should there be any questions or comments that we failed to address in this video, we will post some updates in the comments section of this video to make sure that everyone has an easy time installing this wonderful product.
All right, thanks for checking it out, guys. Hey guys, this is Dan.
And this is Cal
with True North Motos, and today we're going to be doing an install of the Highway Dirt Bikes Ultimate Handguards on a 2022 KTM 500 XCFW. First we're going to start with overview of what you're going to get. So the actual handguard pieces themselves, this customer went with 1 mirror. You can choose to do no mirrors or 2, 1. Set of shields with the color you would like. Hardware, the tap to tap the end of your handlebars, the pivots, hand shield mounting to the handguard, and your top clamp where everything's going to tie together. Next, tools that you will need. Obviously the tap. You'll need a big tap handle. We've actually welded and made our own because we do a lot of these. Some cutting fluid, 8 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 15 Torx to get your left side grip off, and yeah, it's gonna be about it for tools needed. To speed up the process on this install, I have already removed the OEM handguards, the bar mount, and we've removed both grips and cut with a razor along this edge, so when we knock the ends of the grips out, it comes out clean. So now we're going to jump in and start doing the tapping of the bars. This part is the hardest part of the entire install, so take your time and we'll kind of walk you through this. So first thing, grab your tap. Like I said, you're just going to have a tap handle that holds this. Tap comes with the kit. You're going to want to get that, put some pressure, and kind of get it started. And this can take a couple times. So now that's kind of started, you're going to want to look, make sure you're straight in line with the top of the bar and the side of the bar. Once you do that, start giving it some more turns and get your cutting started. Okay, so now we've cut a thread. We're gonna just make sure we're aligned again. Looking pretty good. So put a little bit of thread cutter on there. Just when you first start, you go about 1.5 turns, and then you're gonna want to break off the metal for the threads that you just cut. Come back and just start doing a turn at a time. Break your threads, come back, half, one, break your threads. I'll do that.
And this stuff gets pretty warm.
Yep, turn the heat down in your shop. And the reason you want to break your threads is you don't want to break this tap off in your bar. It's going to ruin your day. So always just go turn, break your threads off.
How many HDB handguard systems have you installed over the last 5-6 years?
At least 100. That's why we built this tool. And we have never broke a tap. You'll feel when the threads break off, it'll get easier to back out. Don't gotta take it all the way out. So if you look now, got about 4 threads left on the end of the tap. That's where you stop. So that's cut deep enough. Now what we'll do is just back this all the way out. One side done. Go over to the other side. Same thing.
Basically just doing exactly the same thing on this side.
Exactly the same thing. So we'll probably speed up this part of the video to keep this short.
Okay, we'll assume that it was event-free.
All right, so now that we've got both sides of the bars tapped, we've sprayed a little brake clean in there to get rid of that cutting fluid. And I like to blow all the aluminum pieces out of the bars. So Kyle's just gonna hold the towel on that end. Okay, just kind of blow off the pipe. So, now, as I said earlier, we pre-cut these grips with a razor knife. Kyle's gonna knock out the end of the grip. All your ODI grips have a etched part on the plastic in here to where you can knock out the end without having to cut it or drill it or do anything else. So
we just got an old extension that we use. We go ahead and drop it right in, and you gotta kind of hold it pretty good because this will slip on you. And it doesn't always like to pop all the way out because your initial cut. So sometimes you gotta go back through and razor a little more. If you can see that.
do that real quick.
Here's that.
Here, can I use that real fast?
Yeah.
So if you just kind of use your bench. Here.
See this real quick.
It can be a little bit of a pain, but you'll just get under there.
You can feel where it's broken, and you can usually get the razor underneath of it. Fairly easy once it gets going. And you can see down in there, the brake came out pretty clean.
And if you want to, you can kind of feel this edge. It's going to be on your bar. Just lightly take the razor and chamfer the edge a little bit. Don't take too much, but now that's nice and smooth and we're good. So I'm going to let Cal do that other one. We'll kind of jump ahead. So before we start mounting the handguards, I like to pre-assemble them on the bench. Just makes life easier. So we're going to cut open our hardware. So these four are going to be for your top clamp. These are your bar ends. These long ones are going to be for your pivot to your top clamp. So those are going to go through there and through there. The shorter ones are going to be through your handguard to the pivot. Like to use some medium strength Loctite on the pivot bolts. Just a little dab. Same thing on these ones that come through the handguard. Okay. So now you'll see this recess right here. That's going to sit against that. Okay. So start your bolt. That's snug. Now, just a note, sometimes you'll get Allens in these kits, sometimes you get a 13mm hex. They're going to go in the same place based on their length. These bolts will always be the same. So this is that guy is a 5mm Allen. So I just like to hold it up against like that and just snug them for now. Repeat that on the other side. And that's going to be ready to go on the bike. Next, we're going to jump to shield hardware and your mirror. The mirror is going to come with its own specific hardware. We'll go through that when we mount it. Okay. So same thing on these. If you have one mirror, you're going to end up only using 3 of these hand shield bolts because the mirror is going to take place of one of them. You got 2 mirrors, you use 2. You got no mirrors, you use all 4. So we're going to use 3 in this case. Same thing. Put a dab of blue Loctite on the bolts. You don't need to do this on the mirror bolt because it uses a nylock nut. Okay. So if you're using one mirror, I definitely recommend putting it on the left side of the bike or the clutch side of the bike. Line up your handguard. Take one of those. It's going to go on the inside for your mounting a mirror. Just like that. And these are a 3. You have the 3mm Allen over there? Okay. These are a 3mm Allen. So we're just going to get that seated, not tighten it yet. Now we're going to mount the mirror. So for your mirror, you're going to take that black spacer. The head of the bolt is going to sit inside here. And sometimes they're kind of hard. You just got to thread this in. That's going to be a 4mm Allen. So just get this good and seated all the way down. Okay, so we're going to take this, put it through the mirror like that. Take your mirror, it needs to sit above the handguard bend. And we're gonna take up space and start this. Once you got it started by hand, spin it in with your Allen. Before you go too far, make sure that's coming out the other end right there. Once you've verified that, you can run the bolt all the way down. A light snug. I'm gonna flip it over now. Use one of the washers. You might have to squeeze in on the handguard a little bit to get your thread started. Like that. And then we're gonna grab our 8mm. Start this. Okay, now it's starting to make the Allen spin. So this is when you get your Allen, hold it, snug everything up. I'm not quite tight there. So the mirror's still kind of easy to move. If that's the case, keep running that in so you get it tight. And again, you'll hold it, retighten your nut, like so. Okay, now I can check the mirror. Should be not hard to move, but not want to just rock down on its own. Another note, once you get this on the bike, if you're trying to grab this, because it'll pivot on this ball and turn it, once it's on the bike and you get your mirror set while you're sitting on it where you want, retighten both of these up, and that'll kind of seat the ball, and then you can easily fold the mirror in and out on the handguards and get the correct vision out of the mirror that you need. When the mirror's folded in, it'll sit nicely in there like that and be protected while you're on the trail. So now we'll jump to the other side. This one is not getting the mirror, so we're going to use the other two shield bolts. These are fine threads, so I definitely recommend starting them by hand. Leave that loose till you get the second one started. Okay, now you got both started by hand. Grab your 3mm. Remember, small threads, don't need to over torque these. That's why I put a dab of Loctite on there. Okay, so now we have the left side and the right side and your top clamp pre-assembled. So now that we got the bars tapped, got the end of the grips knocked out and cut out, and we got the handguards pre-assembled, we're going to go ahead and install these on the bike. So, you want your 10mm. These probably won't be that tight because I've already loosened them earlier. But take your top bolts loose. Put those in your spare parts bin for your bike. Okay, so put your throttle cables back. We're going to put that and roll your bars forward. You can see the lines on the inside of your bars. We're going to get those roughly lined up there. And we'll start a bolt. Okay, these are 5mm Allens. So now that's loose still, but got a couple bolts started. Going to position your handguards. If you see these white lines on the inside, keep your side to side even. We'll go ahead and run one of these sides down to snug. And so we're slightly off, so back it off just a little bit. And just make sure and get that perfectly even. Now that we've done that, we can go through and snug these down. You're going to want to torque these to the manufacturer's spec. But for now, before I bust out a torque wrench and set them, just make sure. So I like to start with the top ones. Snug it, give it a torque, and then tighten up your bottom. Repeat on the other side. Start with the top, torque, and do the bottom. All right. Your bars are aligned, your top clamps on. We got the grips roughly on here. One thing that you might run into is if you look at the end, that grip's going to rub on the end of the handguard. So we're going to loosen this stuff, move it in a little bit, and give yourself room so you don't hang your throttle up on the end of the handguard. So okay. Grab your switch. Depending on who set up the bike, you should be able to just kind of wiggle this over. Go a little bit more. Now Now we got a little bit of the bar sticking out of the end of the grip. That's what you want to look for. You can now retighten down.
Yeah, if you don't do that, it'll hold it'll pinch the rubber, and you'll have to pull it all apart again and redo it because this won't move.
Yep, you'll have built-in cruise control.
There you go.
So that's good. We got everything tightened back down. Snug this one. Okay, that side is good. I'm gonna check this side. This side's not as crucial because this doesn't spin, right? But you do want to make sure, line up your grip, and we'll take that 15mm Torx and we will tighten down your ODI. This is like 5 Newton meters, so it's very light torque. Now that throttle is locked down, you can admire a nice Euro switch that comes in our kits. Shameless plug. All right, we're now ready to install our handguards. Tip: silver grade anti-seize. This is a steel bolt going into aluminum threads, and they will corrode and lock in there unless you use some of this terrible anti-seize. Have fun when you get this on your hands. So there's one. Got those on. Okay. So now you're going to take your hand guard, start with the throttle side here. Get that bolt through, and if you can, there's 2 holes. I like to position these in the top hole. Get that started. And grab that 4mm Allen. Here's that 5mm Allen. Run your bolt in. Now just hand tight, we're just seated. Grab one of your big bolts, and of course I just got anti-seize on me. And it'll get everywhere. It's like glitter. So you might have to flex these. So that wants to go in a little bit. Touching the speedo there, so put your bolt in. This is a 3/8 standard Allen. This can be hard because it's trying to cut through the handguard because it's got pressure on it. So just run it in and you'll hear it pop just like that. You're not hurting the threads, it's just the aluminum flexing. Okay, get that snug. You're gonna wanna kind of position your handguard up. Now if you look at the front of the bike, it's kind of where I like to run mine. There'll be about 1/16 or so gap in that little top piece. And then from there, we can hold the handguard and torque that down. Throttle spins freely because we adjusted it. It's not hanging up. Now you can snug these. Give them a little bit of torque, and that Loctite will set, and you're good. All right, so we got the throttle side done. Basically just gonna repeat the other side. So take your hardware, set it through there. You're gonna wanna, brake line, speedo pickup needs to be on the outside towards the front of the bike, and these wires need to be in between. You might have to put a little bit of downward pressure on that, get it in there. Okay, got that started. Take your big bolt. Okay, now that's started. Let me come over before there's too much pressure on this front bolt, since they like to round with these Allens. I'm just going to go ahead and run that in until it's seated on the handguard. Give it a little snug. Now that we've done that, kind of position, match your handguards for height. Looks pretty good. So I'll now hold this. Hold your handguard in position. Give that a good snug. These we tightened up to snug, and they'll sit. They don't tend to move at all. The nice thing, if you get the 13 millimeters in our kits, you can use a wrench on these to snug them back up. So that is the handguards installed. Everything's tightened up, your levers are positioned. The only thing you're gonna need to do now is take the supply. You should get these with your bikes from KTM in your toolkits. And these are the dust covers and the hardware to replace the ones that thread into the shield. So that's gonna be your clutch side. That's gonna be your throttle side. So we're gonna come over here. Make sure to hold the lever in so the spring and stuff doesn't come out. Clutch side is gonna be your thinner bolt. We're gonna get that started right down in there. You can let go of the lever. This side is an 8 millimeter. So we'll start that. Get yourself an 8 millimeter wrench. And 8 millimeter socket. And we'll tighten this up. It's nylock, so you don't need to go crazy. So that's on there. Now you can put the rubber on. Make sure this back side is seated up over that lip. So that's all the way on, protecting all of that. Grab the stuff for the other side, which is going to be a 10mm. Stay there. There we go. Again, hold your lever, pull that bolt out. This is the one with the bigger shoulder on your throttle side. Get that down in. And we'll start the nut. Again, you will take your wrench on the bottom. Light snug. It's a nylock, don't need to go crazy. Now we're going to take that rubber on this side, feed it over, and boom. That is the full install on the HDBs. Again, like I said in the beginning, to get your bike all the way back together, sit on the bike, get your mirror out. It'll be stiff at first. Sit on it and get your mirror where you want it. See how it can pivot while it's still somewhat loose, up and down. Hold it there and snug this up. After that, you're good to go. Thanks for checking it out, guys.